Welcome to Not What I Thought. I'm Erika.
I'm Yolanda.
And I'm Becca. We're therapists, entrepreneurs, and perfectly imperfect humans.
We first met during a business owner retreat where we became fast friends because we're not afraid to be real and ask the hard questions about life. What we thought it would be like, how messy it actually is, and the courage it takes to create the life we want.
We continue to build our friendship and personal growth through our own retreats. We find the deepest connection in sharing our struggles and finding what we have in common rather than what divides us.
We're breaking down hard topics on our podcast and together have conversations about what it takes to find real talk, real support, and real rest for professional women. We're glad you're here. Join us on your favorite podcast platform. Okay, everybody. I want to talk today about some things that I learned about being a boss or manager, and how that led me to a different direction to finding my own community, and learning some important things about myself. So where this all started, when I had been in private practice by myself. And then when I decided that I was going to start hiring people to work with me, I had this vision of the type of workplace and culture that I wanted to create, and where there's collaboration and people are valued and we have these deep friendships and all this stuff. And so I went about building that. And I think that really it's what I wanted and what I felt like I needed. But I was trying to get that need met by meeting it for other people. And I did a good job. And if I say so myself, right? I generally get feedback that people like working for me. They like the work environment here. They hang out with their coworkers outside of work because we've done a good job at creating a great culture in my little company. And somewhere along the line, I realized that I created this beautiful thing for these other people that I can't be a part of because I'm not one of the coworkers. I'm the boss, right? And there's no amount of me trying to be cool that just eliminates that power differential, that at the end of the day, I'm the employer. And so while they may appreciate me and respect me, we're never going to be friends in the same way that they can be friends with each other. And I don't regret doing that for them because I still think that it's very worthwhile. And I love having people who love working here and all of that kind of stuff. But doing the thing for other people is not the way to meet the need for myself. And I think that's this isn't what I thought it would be part. And I'm seeing how that is maybe a theme in a lot of places in my life that I'm trying to work on, is to own that it's okay for me to want things. And it's okay for me to just try to get those needs met or ask for those needs to be met. And that it doesn't have to be this indirect way of, well, let me try to get it by giving it to someone else.
If there are listeners who aren't watching our video, you do not see the other two of us. Not bobbleheads to everything that you just said, Becca.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm kind of curious, some nitty gritty, what types of things were you trying to build for your employees that really was something that you wanted?
I think I wanted community and I wanted friends, though I wouldn't have said I'm trying to be friends with my employees. I think that is part of what was driving. And I wanted to have some professional support and collaboration because it's lonely when you work for yourself and you are a business of one employee, it's you. That's a lonely place to be. And I found that it's also kind of lonely to be the boss because you show up at work and at the end of the day, you have all of these people who are in it with you, but any one of them could move on to something else. And at some point they all will. And you're the only constant who's going to be here through all of the employee changes. And at the end of the day, if something doesn't work for someone, they can quit this job and move on to something else. But you're not going to do that, or it's not as simple for you to do that because this is your company, right? Or you might get people's input on what do we think that we should do about this problem? Let's be collaborative. And at the end of the day, you're the one who has to make the decision. You're the one who's taking all of the risk. You're the one who's ultimately responsible. And that's a lonely place to be, right? I think I was looking for community and support. I just didn't know you all yet.
That was the whole problem.
That was the whole problem.
Here's the thing. Let's all start our practices again, our group practice. I agree with you, Becca. There's so much about what you say that resonates. And in some ways, I think sometimes it feels even more lonely being the owner and seeing the connections that your employees have with one another. And to your point, like that wouldn't be appropriate for, it's not the same. There's different relationship dynamics, different power dynamics. And to see your employees benefiting from something that you so intentionally put in place that is serving them so beautifully, but isn't serving you, me, us.
Same way. Yeah.
In the way that we thought that it might. That's been hard.
Yeah, I think when an employee comes to me with something that they want, that's where I get a little bit stuck, because I do want to give them that like autonomy, that like, yes, advocate for things that you need and things that will help you do your job better. And then same thing, like you were saying, like Yolanda, sometimes it's not always going to work, or it's not where my brain says the best course of action may be. And my Enneagram 1 brain, which like looks at 12,000 outcomes all at one time, and then I pick the one that I think is going to be the safest or the smartest. I have a hard time when I'm trying to then maybe explain that. And if the person doesn't see it the way I see it, then I want to give them what they want. So it's just this whole like stuck weird thing that does feel lonely, right? Because it's like, well, now what do we do? And Becca, you're right. Like that'll be up to me at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't know that they're able to, I don't know that an employee is able to see things from a business owner, perspective.
And not because of like some kind of fundamental
That's
capability, but just they're not in that role. They don't have all of the information that you have. They haven't maybe been with the business as long as, certainly they haven't been with the business as long as you have to have like known where it's come from and see the trends and know what the goals are, and they can't.
Yeah.
We're fooling ourselves if we expect them to.
It's unfair to have that expectation of them. Yeah, it really is. It's really unfair for them to feel like they are going to be able to have the same perspective because they haven't been in the role, and they haven't, to your point, been in the role historically. I'm like, there's a reason that the policies and procedures are like this, because I've tried it other ways and those ways didn't work. So I don't need for you to agree with them. Like fundamentally, overarchingly, yes, but the little nuances of it, trust me, there's a reason why things are this way.
Right.
I think for me, there's the history that brought you to the point of each of us to the point of starting our own practices, and then to expand to group practice. And a lot of it for me was that feeling of, wow, it's awfully lonely to do this by yourself, and also having come from other environments where it was touted to be a community and team and like all of that, and in reality it wasn't that. So there were definitely elements that I came into group practice that I was like, I want it to be like this, because that's the opposite of what I experienced in these other places. And I think in some ways that led me to be overly nurturing, and then being hurt when I realized that the fact that that was not going to be reciprocated, nor was that appropriate, right?
Mhm.
It wouldn't be appropriate for that to be reciprocated by an employee. Again, also all the things that we've talked about. But I think the reality of that for me was just like, ooh, no, I didn't realize that that's the way that it was actually going to be.
Are there other ways that you do this indirect thing where you're trying to meet your own needs through an indirect channel? Because I imagine I know for me, it happens not just in work.
Oh, you mean the way that I handle things in one part of my life is the way that I handle them in other parts of my life?
Yeah, that's what I was going for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a whole love language concept, right? We give our partner the things that actually we would want to receive in return, and we're just like speaking the wrong language, you know.
I would say as we're talking about it, the thing that is coming to mind would probably be in some ways that are similar as far as like the relationship dynamics would be things with my kids. There are those differentials and power dynamics, and even though my kids are grown now, it is different. Um, and I can be much more clean with them now, I guess, and more specifically asking for what I want instead of giving them the things that I would like in return, and just kind of hoping that they reciprocate. So, yeah, now that they're older, I find myself having much more direct conversations with them.
I was thinking something similar, seeing that play out in that I'm trying to parent my kids in a way that I wish I was parented, try to bring those things that I didn't get as values that I want to include in my family. So, but everybody's a different person, right? So my kids might not need all those things, or the circumstances are different, right? So it's always that constant like check-in process.
And I notice in myself how often I find something that I like or experience something good, and that my first impulse is, how do I take this to other people? Who needs to hear it? How do I share it? How do I bring other people into this? Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I do think that there is at least a facet of that is, I don't feel comfortable with it just being, it's not enough that it's just good for me. Right? So maybe with the building friendship and community part, it's like, I don't feel comfortable just saying, hey, I need community. I'm going to build this for me. I can only take the action if it's for someone else, or I learn a new way of healing or something. And like, oh, well, it's not enough for me to just receive it. I need to get trained in it so that I can do it for other people. But what would it be if I didn't have to do that? That I could just take these things in and enjoy them for myself, or that I could, in a more direct way, say, I'm lonely. I need some colleagues. I need some collaboration. How do I build and bring that in for myself?
It's really interesting that you put it in that way, because as you've been talking, I've been thinking, this is why I have not thought too much about yoga teacher training, right? Because I love yoga. And there's a little part of me that I'm like, I love yoga so much. I should do the training so that I could share it with everyone. And for whatever reason, with that in particular, I come to this pause of like, but then it will feel completely different. Because then I won't any longer have a pure yoga practice where I'm just able to be present with it. I'll, in the back of my mind somewhere, I'll be thinking, how do I incorporate this into a class, or how like.
I think I actually went through a similar process with yoga, that when I first encountered it and started practicing, my brain went to, well, I need to get trained so that I could and I made a conscious choice, like, not to, I think for similar reasons, like, but maybe it's okay that I can just this can just exist as a part of my life to benefit me and help me feel connected and teaching me important concepts, and that it doesn't have to be a vehicle that I take then to spread to other people, right?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I love your point earlier about that you can build your own community. It doesn't have to be where your current community is, right? So I love that y'all both thought of yoga. I was thinking about the Barbie movie because I loved it so much. And I wish that everybody saw it so I could talk about it endlessly with every person that I know. But not everybody wants to see it, and not everybody wants to go to the movies or whatever the issue is, right? Or not issue, but whatever the thing is. So I go online, right? And I go onto YouTube and I watch people's reviews and I like read people's comments, and then I think through things in a different way that I want to challenge my own mind and my own perceptions and thoughts about the movie. Or I think this would apply to anything. And so it doesn't have to be, you don't have to only utilize the scope of people who you currently have, right? Like you can reach out and experience that same thing in a different way.
I'd like to talk, just if you all are open to it, I'd like to talk for a second, like kind of deconstructing how we built our friendship. Because I think that me connecting with you all is like a direct outgrowth of I was looking for community, feeling lonely where I was professionally. And that, wasn't going to get met through my employees. And I wonder if I just know that I've been in that place where I see other people and I'm like, oh, how that's cool that they have that friendship, or that's cool that they have that collaboration. But like, how did that happen? Right. So if anybody listening to this is in a place where you're like, wow, I wish I had friends like Yolanda and Erika. You're right, you do. And right, like, I wish that I had friends like that, but how does that happen? How do I find them? Or maybe I'm the only person in my position in the, company that I work with. So it's not like I have a peer that I can go to and build that relationship. Like, I don't know.
Do I want to talk about one of my favorite things ever? The two of you?
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm game. I love this. I love
Yeah.
this. Yeah. A conversation about community. So do you want to start, Becca?
Yeah, I mean, I will start with, so we met, like our intro says, right? We met through a business coaching program that had a retreat component to it. And there were more than just the three of us in the program. And I will say, for starters, I would pay attention when we would, whether through video messaging or, Facebook group or online forum or whatever, like I would notice who were the people who showed up for me when I had a question or shared that something was hard. I would notice who were the people that only showed up when they had a need, but weren't like contributing back to build community in that same way. Yeah, not that that's all of it, but I guess that's my starting move. Like, yeah, I was paying attention. Who are the people that I feel connected to, and who are the people that are giving as much as they're taking, and that seem to want the same type of friendship or support that I'm wanting.
Yeah, same. I think that that definitely was a huge factor. And then we also all decided to travel together during when people first, started traveling again after COVID. And so as we were trying to arrange that, I think it was thinking through, okay, who do I think would be a good fit in terms of like travel style, being able to work together, being in the same place at the same time. Like these things are important, right? And so not good, bad, right, or wrong, just you meld with certain people better than other people.
And Erika didn't even know that she was going to be, to talk about travel styles. You didn't know you were going to be a hiker, and we strong-armed you into it.
Good. Guilty as charged.
But you kept me alive, so I'm really happy about that.
We didn't want to piss off your husband, so. So I will say, yeah, exactly what the two of you have said. It did start with those initial like communications, kind of paying attention to like a feeling of generosity and like abundance and presence. Like even in video chat, like when you were present, like I could tell like there had been some thought there, Then we had a couple of in-person experiences before the one that Erika mentioned, and just having those experiences confirmed what I had observed. There's some pretty, that first retreat that we went on was super vulnerable for all of us. Erika was in a challenging spot. Like just kind of witnessing people show up in those spaces in that way. And then the trip that Erika mentioned, which was, there was just this undercurrent of being so excited to be in the same space with one another. And then I showed up and I had a complete meltdown, complete state of like burnout, and was like, I have no clue what is happening right now. And the way that the two of you held me in that space, the love and compassion and laughter through the tears that you shared with me in that space, I will say it to my dying day, not once did I feel like it was too much, or that I was alone, or that I wasn't being held in the way that you two showed up in that space. And I wish that for everybody on the planet. I wish that experience for everybody.
I know that you've talked about that before, and I don't think that I've ever shared that, like, I don't recall it being difficult to show up for you, that felt like draining or work or anything. And even the first time I think that you mentioned like about that trip and I had a meltdown, I'm like, she did? Do I remember? Oh, right. Because it wasn't a part that felt like it changed my experience, or that I resented being there, or that you were too much for me, or anything like that. And I think if there's anything that we can pull from this that might be helpful for other people, is just to pay attention when you have those people and you go, oh, I was a little bit vulnerable and I felt so safe with them. Oh, that's the relationship that you continue to invest in, right? Or like someone was so grateful for what I gave them and it was easy. That is such a different experience than you giving and having the person be hardly grateful at all. And you end up feeling resentful, right? It's like, those are the little things that you pay attention to in deciding who's my community and who's not, where are the relationships that I should invest in further, and which are the ones that aren't even bad, but just like, it's just fine how it is, right?
And also, if there weren't all of those cumulative experiences of the way that we showed up for each other and the way that each of you showed up for me prior to that point, the meltdown wouldn't have happened, and the meltdown needed to happen, right? So that's what I appreciate.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The safety that we have, it does allow us to go where we need to go, or explore things that feel scary that we wouldn't be able to tap into in other circumstances or in different scenarios. That's huge.
Yeah, I think we mentioned it in the intro, like we're willing to have the hard conversations, which is part of what we are trying to do in this, podcast format. And I think I feel like I can step into those hard conversations with the two of you pretty easily, because I know there's this safety net that we've created.
Yeah. I know I've said to you online before, like, ask me how I'm doing and I can talk about it calmly with anybody else, but somehow I say the same words to Yolanda and I'm like, oh, I'm crying right now because I just love you and I know you're going to take care of me. And I think speaks to that safety that's been built over the years that we've known each other.
I know, I had to giggle when you were like, I didn't remember there being a meltdown. I'm like, well, the number of tissue carcasses that I left. It's like, is there more tissue in this house? I know anytime I get a video message for you, we said it before we started today. I was like, I started my day this morning. I was journaling. I was like, it's podcast day. I get to see there's community out there. It's different than what I thought it might be in like the quote unquote business realm. And I think when I'm vulnerable enough to like really get honest with myself and say, no, this is what I need, then the doors open beautifully to relationships like this.
I guess I was thinking to that exercise where you take like, a 1-inch square paper and you write down all the people who you would call if there was something going on. Like, these would be your people and you can't fill up more than like this square. So I tend to say like it's my when shit hits the fan list. Like, who am I going to? Y'all are definitely on the list.
Becca, what does your heart know to be true about community?
Well, I thought that giving to other people what I wanted for myself was the way to get it for myself. And I found that not to be true. And I know that it's okay for me to want and need things. And it's okay for me to ask for what I need and even to go out directly seeking what that is. It doesn't have to be indirect. Maybe it comes back to a worthiness thing for me again, too. Like that is okay in itself for me to like something, want something, need something. And it could be shared with others or not, but it's okay if it's just for me. What about for you, Erika? What does your heart know to be true?
My heart knows to be true that it's okay that people have all these different needs and that relationships can look so different in different realms of our lives, but we can really find the people who we need. And it's okay to one, reach out for those people, but also work on creating those relationships that don't actually feel like work, right? Like you still have to be active in it, but it doesn't have to feel so challenging or dreadful.
Yolanda?
What does your heart know to be true?
My heart knows that it's okay for me to be the boss. I can definitely work to create an environment and a community of work based on what I would like to work, like an environment that I would like to work in, and create that for my employees and look elsewhere to build a true community that can be more reciprocal, that can be more connecting.
I'm so glad that those people are you.